So what is a dopamine detox? If you're watching this right now, you're probably asking the same question. Recently, my mind's been exposed to a lot. I mean a lot, more than I've ever anticipated. And even though what's been happening in the world has helped me gain a perspective, I find myself consuming a little too much of it, which has led my brain to feeling overwhelmingly foggy.
And what good is it if I can't take action on the things I'm reading on the internet if my brain's foggy and it isn't working properly? So I'm curious. I've heard of dopamine detox a few times now. Most of the chatter comes from Silicon Valley, but I wanted to read articles of people's experience on this and see how they reacted to it. Okay, first article, BBC, dopamine fast, the hunger and boredom were intense. Great way to start an article. First note here, dopamine fasting is a lifestyle trend popular in the world's tech Silicon Valley, which involves cutting yourself from almost all stimulation for 24 hours. You can't eat, drink anything apart from water. Okay, or use the internet, which makes sense. Your phone, again, makes sense, or TV. You're encouraged to read, which is productive, so that's good. Here's another article from New York Times, how to feel nothing now in order to feel more later, a day of a dopamine fasting in San Francisco. This person's saying he wouldn't exercise, which is interesting. He would not touch other bodies for any reason. That's a weird way of saying that, especially not for sex, no work, no eye contact, not talking more than absolutely necessary. So you're essentially just trying to mute yourself for the whole day? Okay. He says, I avoid eye contact because I know it excites me. That's a weird way of saying that. Okay. All right. There's that. Yeah, okay. Let's talk about who coined dopamine detox. Dr. Cameron Safa, a Californian psychiatrist, that's the man who started this trend. A blog post from Harvard Health Publishing cites him saying dopamine is just a mechanism that explains how addictions can become reinforced and makes a catchy title. And that title is not to be taken literally. I feel like it's my personal responsibility for the sake of society's brain health to say you can't fast from a naturally occurring brain chemical. There's a much bigger problem at play. Look, when I go outside and I go on a walk and I look at everyone, I realize this and I tell myself this. Every single one of us, including myself, we're just distracted. Whether we're on our phones or we're talking to people or we're dealing with our kids, we're just failing at the one thing that we're supposed to be doing, which is being present. And that's the basis of this video. I'm gonna use dopamine detox as a method to get rid of distractions that I have on a day-to-day basis. So the first step I'm taking is identifying the behavior I'm trying to modify or improve on. The 6 major impulsive behaviors that are prone to addiction are emotional eating, internet, shopping, masturbation, novelty seeking, and drugs. And when you compare all 6 side by side, I find myself leaning towards one behavior more than the other. It's the internet. Thanks 21st century for giving us technology. So like many of you, I desperately need a detox from my phone. The moment I wake up, I'm on my phone and I catch myself distracted by various apps that I have on my phone. So the first step I took was downloading the Freedom app. The Freedom app is essentially an app blocker and also a website blocker. So it blocks the whole internet, both on my phone and my desktop. So the best part is that you can actually schedule times throughout the day where you want to block the internet. I decided to block websites that took a lot of my time and also block social media apps on my phone. So this is perfect, right? I don't have to constantly be deleting my apps when I want to get work done. And I could just simply turn on the Freedom app, turn on a timer where I want the whole internet blocked, and it works for me. And this varies from person to person, obviously, but for me, I actually turn my phone off from 10 o'clock at night until 9 o'clock in the morning. This is a really good way for me to not be distracted by my phone during the most important parts of my day. And throughout the day, I have the internet blocked from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. and from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. And I do this because these are prime hours for me to get work done for my day job and also just focusing on other things as well. So when you look through my schedule, I've added a total of 13 hours that I can't go on the internet. That's more than enough time for me personally to get things done that matter the most. What's happening here is that I'm building this habit, right? So day in and day out, I'm being blocked from the internet. What's happening is I'm starting to see my phone and my computer as single purpose machines. So I came across this concept when I was reading Digital Minimalism by Cal Newman. Like many of you, I find it difficult to stay productive on my phone and my computer. So the Freedom app has essentially started training my brain to start seeing my technology that I have at my disposal as single purpose computers instead of a device that is meant for a million things. And that's been a very powerful shift in my headspace.
So while I was reading about people's experience with dopamine detox, the pattern I found was every single one of them did the detox for 24 hours. So for a normal person, that just isn't sustainable. That's just not possible because we're all busy, right? We're trying to just implement something small into our lives. So this is where batching comes in and connects. So instead of doing a detox for 24 hours, I opted to do a detox 1 to 4 hours every single day. And the way I did that was by batching a period in time throughout the day that I didn't use my phone, computer, and just instead replaced it with something else. So what I did was I batched 1 hour every single night when I didn't have to use my phone. This was the best time for me where there weren't that many commitments from other people. And here's the most important thing, and this is where connects come in. You need to replace the time that you have where you're not doing anything with a high level skill or a hobby. And that's where the true power of a dopamine detox comes from. And Cal Newton mentioned this in the book Digital Minimalism. He said that when you remove yourself from technologies, the biggest factor in you having a successful detox is replacing that time that you have with your phones and computer with a high quality leisure activity. So what I did was for an hour a day at night, I just decided to just play with connects and not be with my phone, not be distracted, and just like randomly put things together with no real purpose, but to just simply build something and use my brain productively. That's not a word. Use my brain to build something really interesting like this, but this is nothing. But you get the point. Like when I'm not filming, I'm actually more into what I want to build. But yeah. So the lesson here, to have a successful dopamine detox, you have to replace the time that you used to spend with technology with a high level activity, a high leisure activity rather. And doing that over a long period of time will compound and you'll see the benefits.
Like any detox, you have to eventually reduce the very thing you're detoxing from. The goal for a dopamine detox is to build eventually a self-discipline towards technology. And this is where the idea of slow media comes in. And this is perfectly described in the book Digital Minimalism. Slow media cannot be consumed casually, but provoke a full concentration of their users. Slow media measures themselves in production, appearance, and content against high standards of quality and stand out from their fast-paced and short-lived counterparts. And we can do this really well by creating feasting schedules. To me, a feasting schedule is very simple. You schedule 4 30-minute blocks throughout the day where you can just consume whatever you want. Simply put, the idea is to feast on technology for 30 minutes at a time throughout the day. So you can create multiple times throughout the day where you can do this. And the goal for this routine is to simply start building that habit of knowing that there are going to be certain times throughout the day where you can just mindlessly consume content. Go on Instagram, Apple News, YouTube, whatever you want. There's no pressure. You don't have to feel bad because it's on your schedule. But if you really want to take slow media to the next level, I suggest start consuming media through print. And this is definitely an experiment I want to run for a future video where I consume only newspapers as just my form of media for a whole month, but stay tuned for that. But this is something that I've been very interested in, right? Like, I love the idea of getting your news from a newspaper because it's not a screen. You're essentially just in it. You're in the newspaper, you're consuming something that's probably well thought out versus just a quick article that you'll probably read on like BuzzFeed or Apple News. So if you want to take slow media to the next level, try it out. Sign up for a membership to New York Times or Wall Street Journal or whatever you want, and consume your media that way instead of going on CNN or all these websites on your phone. And trust me, I think you're gonna feel that you're not being fatigued, your mind's not being worn out after reading a newspaper. Trust me, it's been happening to me and it's been changing my life. And it's kind of sad that print is going away because really, maybe print will come back. Maybe we'll all have like this epiphany moment where we're like, oh snap, technology is actually hurting us and we're becoming more anxious and depressed. We'll go back to print. But who knows? I'm an optimist, but we'll see what happens. I hope you guys enjoyed the first part of the dopamine detox series I'm working on. You know, this video in particular was going through the different tools I'm using to kind of implement dopamine detox throughout my day. The next video will talk about more of my experience with these tools and some of the emotional epiphanies that I've had. And the biggest takeaway from this video, and the last thing I'm going to say, is that ultimately as people, we want to be less distracted. We want to be more present. Look at the tools that you're using right now and how they're distracting you. And then once you figure that out, then find solutions for that and find ways you can control your life. Because before you know it, you're gonna live your whole life just distracted by Instagram. And that's something that terrifies me personally. I don't wanna be on my deathbed and just tell myself, oh snap, I spent way too much time on TikTok and Instagram. That's terrifying. Or whatever app that's gonna be out there when I'm like 80 or 90 or whatever. So, dopamine detox. It's powerful. Just a thought.